Hello everyone and welcome to the TIG channel. For today's video guys, I want to do something challenging, and that's gonna be backfeed root pass on a horizontal joint. What's so different about it? It's gonna be perpendicular to your tungsten. Usually most common is a dabbing technique, which works perfect with a high amperage on a smaller gap. In this case I'm using 532 gap all the way around with 3 tacks as usual, 12, 9 and 3 o'clock. Or just constant feed or lay wire technique, keeping in slightly inside the bevel while you're melting your puddle up and down. Overall really good control over your puddle, or slightly under angle, which is 25-30 degree. But in this case, as I said, it's going to be perpendicular, which is 90 degree to your tungsten. Before we dive into more detail, I would like to introduce the Extreme TIG product. Hey guys, let me introduce you to TIG sleeve. This is TIG rod storage tube, a special design for TIG welders. Every unit is handcrafted, features an O-ring seal to protect your TIG rods from moisture, dust and any damage. It's a clear anodized aviation grade finish. Includes a durable adjustable strap that's for comfort and convenience. It's a 360 rotation. You can stretch it out up to 57 inches, so it's gonna fit even 4X guys. It's built to perform, 37 inches in length, so it's gonna fit full-size TIG rods, weighing just 2.6 pounds with a 10-pound rod capacity. Strap it over your back to stay mobile and hands-free while you're climbing. Crawling comes in 5 different colors, and you can check it out on tigsleeve.com. As I mentioned, maintaining your filler wire perpendicular to tungsten during a horizontal TIG weld root pass can be quite challenging. That's why it's important to achieve good penetration and consistent bead. But it can also be tricky to manage the angle and position while keeping your arc stable, which we can see here. Depends from the various field scenarios, on especially on a tubing where the back side of your joint is open gap and the front side where you facing is closed. This technique might be very useful. Overall, it's good for practice. Here I'm using 120 amps for this root pass. As you can see, achieving that angle, it's a little bit challenging, it's a little bit tricky. You don't want to go too fast. You got to maintain that consistent step. Overall, you got a good control. As you can see it, properly both edges, top and the bottom, are being burned. You can see exactly the amount that you're actually depositing in, and while building that nice, good uniform root. If you find that this is difficult, you might try adjusting your technique slightly. Some welders prefer to angle the filler wire, as I explained at the beginning of the video. Depends from your angle, dabbing technique, or lay wire, constant feed, which means keep wire constantly connected while slightly inside your root at a 25-30 degree angle, or leaning slightly towards the arc to facilitate better control and reduce the risk of getting caught in the puddle. Practicing motion and finding the right balance between the filler wire and tungsten position, that will help a lot. It's all about fine-tuning. As I said, this is good for practice and absolutely can help later in the field. This is from the inside. As you can see, it's pretty much uniform root. It is consistent all the way around, which is what I like. As I said, it's challenging, but it helped me numerous times in a field. It's all about adapting to new situations, different scenarios in a field. Once you learn how to control that puddle from particularly this type of backfeed on a horizontal root pass, it can absolutely help you. Even though horizontal weld horizontal joints seems to be one of the easiest if you compare to overhead or vertical joints that we got, because on those two you play against gravity, but still horizontal can come with some difficulties, especially if you're not so experienced. Like the molten puddle tends to float towards the lower side, owing to the influence of gravity, leading to an asymmetric welded joint. And this asymmetric flow of puddle caused by gravity results in uneven microstructures and mechanical properties, ultimately leading to poor weld performance. And that's why it's important to learn all those techniques, different techniques on a horizontal, on overhead, on any vertical butt joint welds. That's why it's good to be versatile in all those different techniques, because in a field everything changes. So here, this is the last section we're gonna finish, and I'm not gonna use any grinder here for tie-in. I'm just gonna do tie-in as it is. And obviously here it can be perpendicular because the gap is closing, so I gotta put on a 10 degrees, still keeping the edge of the wire as much as I can before I reach to that tie-in. And here I'm gonna pause. As for any other tie-in, pause here, top and the bottom. Make sure you can see both edges, the top and the bottom are melted, and then you can add wire as needed. And I always go over it at least half an inch. And that's it. Now I'm gonna check from the inside. As you can see, the root is uniform all the way around. As I said, it's a little bit tricky, you know, to keep that perpendicular to your tungsten, because you don't want to leave any stubs inside. You don't want to be faster than your filler wire. That's why maintaining that tungsten angle, it's very important here. And this is pretty much root pass from the outside. You can see there is some little bit impurities. You always use a buffing wheel or a hand brush, remove all that, make it nice and clean and shiny. It's easier for your hot pass. Depends from the filler wire you're using. For this one, as I said, I don't know, did I mention it's 70S6. Everything is a little bit easier with a 70S6 filler wire comparing to other filler wire rods. And as always, sometimes technique it's not so really important as much as the comfort than welding techniques. There's one of the golden rules of welding. Number one is always joint preparation. That's most important. And the welding machine setup, that's a vital thing to some smooth welds. And that's it pretty much. Once you fine tune all that together, and with a little bit of practice, more you practice, the more you burn, more you learn. And that's how it is. And that's it pretty much for the hot pass and for the root inside. We didn't change it much at all. Definitely no any suckbacks here, and this should be all good to go. And that's it pretty much, guys. I hope you like this video. Hope you learned something. Hope you're gonna challenge yourself as well, and see you in the next one. Take care.